So it's been a few weeks now since I published the last video concerning the strut pocket repair, and some decisions were being made and some parts were being shipped around to try to figure something out. This is what we ended up going with. So this actually came from, I believe, Florida, or somewhere that had, it was a salvage yard that had a Jetta or a Cabrio, I guess, in their yard, and it had a good solid strut pocket. Get out of here, Tucker. Not right now. So anyway, they did a good job. They cut out a large enough section, and I guess these guys cut apart cars all the time, so whomever did this, you know, obviously knew what they were doing. You can see, I guess, up on this end here, this is kind of like where the windshield of the car would tie in, or the firewall on that driver's side would tie in. This section down here is, I believe, actually a piece of the existing firewall, or, well, what the piece of the firewall that would sit in front of the windshield drain here. And I know from looking at the car that's sitting out there, some of this material in here is rusted out as well on the back side, where maybe debris got in there, or maybe it just was suffering from the same sort of rust. Anyway, so on the actual car outside, this seam here, which you can kind of feel how there's a lap joint in here between the two pieces of metal. I think I heard someone say that there's actually, the top part here is double wall metal, and then this thinner material down beneath it is sandwiched in between those two pieces. Not really sure which it is. I haven't thrown a mic or anything on either of these to figure out where the, you know, how it's actually constructed. But this one, I've poked at it and it's solid all the way around. It still has a good coat of paint and a good coat of undercoating on it, but that's part of the problem, I think, with the other part, is that this thicker undercoating, this kind of rubberized coating on there was hiding all of the damage, so it wasn't obvious until you really started beating on it with a screwdriver or a hammer that all the metal underneath was deteriorated. So anyway, so as far as how they cut it out of there, there's a cut line coming up this way, up into here. Seems to be, that's going to be a logical place potentially to cut the other part out. This cut here, I'm not exactly sure how this is going to come together yet, but likely on the car that's outside, we'll take a section out of this rail, and this is kind of where the rail, where the hood, the fender attaches through these holes here, and then the hood kind of comes down, I think, right on the other side of that seam. And they actually cut a piece out, you know, all the way down here. So they sliced this, but then this is uncut. The rest of the bracket here is uncut, and then this front portion here, where it attaches to the front radiator support, maybe core support, something like that, is still intact. So likely I'll do something similar. It looks like they got a section cut across here, maybe where that lower battery tray mounted in, but they definitely cut it down below on this lower part of the bracket, so that might make a good place to splice in. And then the real question, I guess, is how this bottom seam, because this is cut all along here, and that's going to kind of be the trick. Straight seams like on the end here and the end here will be easy enough to square up and line up and weld back in, and get the position correct. I have a feeling, though, that well, between the back seam here and then this bottom seam here, trying to index this part and cut it, recut it around here, and then cut the part out of the other car and get these two to match back up appropriately is going to be a little trickier, because this is a nice compound, has a compound shape to it, so it's curving in a couple different directions, and the fit is going to have to be good enough or close enough to be able to butt the two pieces of material together and then stitch them back up. but yeah, beyond that, the rest of it, everything looks like it's in great shape. This bracket here, you know, is still usable. So some of the little stuff, like, you know, cutting an old bracket off to weld it back onto this part, we, you know, don't have to mess with any of that. And it even sent with the studs still in here, and then some of the wire loom holders and some of the little grommets and grommets and stuff like this for where the brake line comes through, I believe, right there. Anyway, so yeah, it looks like it's in good shape. So now just got to get back outside and start looking at where to make the cut lines on the existing car. Knowing what this piece looks like now, we can start laying all that out and making some first cuts.